I like the scrimmage today. It's from a standpoint, it's very physical. Guys tackled well, played well, especially with so many guys being out. I was anxious to see how a lot of guys handled situations. I mean, had tons of guys out that weren't in the scrimmage, which is encouraging too, because you still got a lot of guys out there that are playing, getting experience to do the things they got to do. So we'll wait and see. But the guys, for the first part of scrimmage, even though there wasn't a lot of scoring, there wasn't a lot of missed assignments. Those guys really just, all right, I beat a block, I made a play, and I talk about good ball all the time. It's one of the better days as far as you can make a play on the other side when the other side screws up, and you're supposed to. When a guy blows a coverage or misses a block, just as far as missed assignments. But if you beat him physically, that's good. I mean, your technique's good, his technique's good, you win the job. So from that standpoint, about like I thought today would go, very physical. I thought the defense would play very well because we're so deep in the secondary and thin of receiver right now that I thought that would be the case. But there was a lot of good situations, a lot of good physical play, and guys, very proud of. I thought Logan really hit the ball really well today. He punted today like he has the last 2.5 weeks of practice. Like I said, I mean, his technique's gotten better and everything. Ricky missed that one, which he should have made, but then come back with a big 52-yarder and another kick and did a nice job. Had a nice kickoff. So in that regard, we got to keep grinding in that part in the kicking game. Yeah, you didn't see the returners, but we guys caught punts. Guys fielded them very naturally. Did the things they had to do. Put them in some situations out there and like that. And then, like I said, up and down. And defense did a really good job in the day. Offense had about five times, I think it was, they crossed the 50. We're in that 35 to 45 range where you start to getting points, and I call it gray area. It's very critical how you play on defense. I thought they made plays. Offense just didn't get it in, but it was good plays by defense, and that's good. I'd rather be rather ahead on defense right now, which I think we are. But overall, good physical day. I thought there was a lot of good hits in the day. The good thing we didn't have anybody come out the day with anything that would keep them out of fall when they get back. So season ending, so pretty good spring so far. Questions?
Jimbo, the defense, I think, both defenses combined, I think, for like 13 sacks. So for you, what do you take out of that? How well the defense did?
There was a lot of situations and who they were going against, and there were personnel matchups that would never happen. The guys that needed to block, I thought blocked pretty good for the most part on the offensive line. I knew some of those were some walk-on guys and some young guys, and you got Frith playing on an ankle that probably shouldn't even have been standing out there. You had about 3 other guys had bad ankles. I didn't think they played poorly. I really didn't. I mean, there were some guys that rushed and got in there, and we can rush up front, but that was not a big issue on the day.
And when you have those,
yeah, I did. Like the way we ran the ball and the situations that we're in, and like a lot of those sacks sometimes were, as you go back, we had some walk-on wideouts that just not their fault, just weren't athletic enough to get open and making you hold the ball, do some things that caused those things. But running the ball was very good, and overall, I thought we had some good runs, and guys broke some runs, tackled well. Solid day in that regard.
Jimbo, what can you take away from the passing game? You only have 2 healthy receivers.
I ain't worried about it. I know we've always been able to throw the ball. We'll throw it well. And we did earlier in spring and have in spring, so I was not worried about that.
What's your thoughts on some of the tight ends, how they performed in the passing game as well as blocking?
Like they caught a couple balls. I mean, I think Izzo had a couple catches there, and maybe ended up with a couple. McKitty, those guys they'll be a good factor in the game. I mean, they're doing some nice things.
I assume it's why you recruited him, but has Cam shown that kind of vision all spring?
Yeah, he ran that way. I mean, very natural. I thought he and Jacquez I thought Ryan Green. I thought Ryan had some really nice runs. I thought Jacquez had some great power runs and inside runs and ran good. And Cam got the chance in space. And a couple times even in space, I thought he should have pressed the block. I thought he bounced a little bit, should have gotten a little more south, but good learning open field running. But I thought for the most part, he caught the ball when he had a chance.
And is he also a kid that'll get you the 3-4 tough yards in the middle?
Oh, no doubt. He's strong. I mean, he'll get it up in. He and Jacquez and all those guys. And Vickers had a nice day. Vickers had a couple really nice runs. And even saw Neighbors catch the ball in there. And when you get Rasul, when he's going healthy, that'll be a good group there too. He's very talented.
Derwin had like 7 tackles a day, right? A couple sacks. And
had a big hit there.
Busy.
DeAndre made a really nice throw to Hendrick, I think one of our walk-on receivers. Caught it for a first down, about the 20. He made a big hit and knocked it loose, and was a really good play. I think he had a sack on the day. But, that's a versatility, and that's where he can play. I mean, he can move up, he can play in the back end, and, that's the kind of player he is.
About what you expected from him?
Oh, yeah, that's what he's been doing every day.
Coach Derwin hurt himself making a big hit. Is it good to see him making another big hit just coming?
You can't worry about that, man. Ball. You have to worry about that. I mean, just go play and let it go. I mean, sometimes he'll be bruised up again sometimes for making a hit. And I don't mean that not to cut you off, but I mean, you can't worry about those things. I mean, that's football. Things are going to happen.
When a defensive player is disruptive as he can be in these types of settings, is it a good thing? Does it make you happy as a coach? Or
oh, yeah, it's a real good thing. I mean, he's a great player. I mean, and the way he affects things. And right now, most of these games, they should be lower scoring type games. Now, last year we had more scoring, but if you remember, there was a lot of walk-on DBs out there too. You know what I'm saying? You had some guys that were getting exploited the other way. Now it was kind of mismatched the other way. But yeah, that secondary group is very talented.
Jimbo, this is the first time we really got to see Derwin, and he looked like the old Derwin. Did you ever see from day one of practice? Was he just the way he was?
No, there was a couple of days he had to ease his way back into it, and even in the off season and the conditioning drills. I mean, you had to see the quickness come back and all the muscles around the injury, you know, getting them back in the soreness. And there was some day. I mean, it wasn't like he was bad, but I mean, you could see there was still another level you knew he had, and he's really starting to hit that now. He's starting to get back to that.
Saw Josh
You know,
Sweat.
Brian Burns, those guys up front, Sweat. I mean, yeah, Sweat was we've had him out all spring. That's all the second half of spring.
Bailey, obviously his numbers weren't great, but it looked like he shows good pocket awareness.
He does. He moves around the pocket. That's what I say. I like what I'm seeing out of him. You know what I'm saying? And he's got good arm. He's got real good awareness. Moves. He's very deceptive on how he moves. He's a lot better athlete than you think he is. You know what I'm saying? Because he likes to set in the pocket, but he can move around and do some things. And I thought JJ had some really nice throws one day. I thought JJ in some third down situations and things when he had, because he didn't have he had more the experienced line was with the other group, and there was some mismatches coming rushing against some injured guys on that side, and he sitting there and made some really nice throws. So I was pleased. I thought both those guys did okay.
Like him and Cam Akers and those guys, how did they handle the stage?
You know, they really did. I didn't, and that's why I like being out there on the field during the day, like those scrimmages, kind of just seeing their eyes in the huddle and who's starting to get starry-eyed. Didn't see that. You know, Kane Doe, you saw him flash Fagan and Stanford Samuels. I mean, Thomas. I mean, they all have kind of fit in. I was very proud of that, and that was part of the reason today I wanted to see how they were going to react. But it was good for them. There was no, I'm in awe. You know what I'm saying?
What was Sweat sitting out with?
He's had a knee, which we said earlier the whole time. Remember, we said we rest his knee and we're going to rest him. And once we saw what he had to do, we just, had no reason to keep playing him the rest of spring.
No, Wednesday you were very high on Jacob Pugh, and now he did. So what was his reaction when he learned that, hey, not only was he the defensive MVP, but overall spring MVP?
I think it kind of shocked him. And I think because, it's funny when you play your best, it's when you start doing everything right. You don't worry about the results. You're not worrying about, what's going on. I'm just trying to do what's right every day. And all of a sudden, when you do that and you have the ability he has, you start becoming a dominant, productive player like he has been, and that's what he did all spring. I don't think I praised him a lot during the spring, but I think it kind of shocked him when I said, it's kind of it's the old cliche. Don't worry about the results and don't worry about trying to be this. And just go play and do your job. And man, and you got ability like he does, it becomes and you saw it to that time, rushing and physical and the way he covers. And even if there was a couple times, there was a play early in the scrimmage. I don't know if you saw it, but tried to hit a cross route. JJ did. It was not that bad, but what the problem was, he jammed the tight end so good on the line of scrimmage. Something that little, a lot of folks don't see that in the thing that screwed the whole play up. He's doing every little thing right. Really staying focused on what he's doing.
How important is he going to be to what you want to accomplish?
Oh, big time. Because he's so versatile. That guy can go play inside backer. He can go play outside backer. He can stand up and drop. And that great, when you can talk about throwing those screens and bubbles and all that, and you got DBs out there and blocking one thing. When you're blocking a body like that, he and Burnsing him, we did that in games with those guys. You know what I'm saying? And when he started picking it up last year, and then all of a sudden you can get in regular, he can go dent the power and take the fullback on. And just the versatility and the pure football knowledge he has can be very critical.
When you play a game like Alabama, how does that help with the off-season focus?
I think it gets your attention. You know what I'm saying? You can't, sometimes guys, man, I hate training, I hate summer, I hate this. Okay, you better know what's coming off the bat. You know what I'm saying? When you have those, like we did last year, Ole Miss, we had Oklahoma State, just different. When you have those big opening games, which we've had a lot of here. Pitt, we played outstanding opponent up there. Remember James's first year, we had Oklahoma State the next year. We had Ole Miss last year, who was coming off with was preseason top 10. It gets attention. Hey, I don't need to take a day off in the summer and not give my best and that kind of stuff. And it makes you kind of dot your I's, cross your T's.
What's the anticipation like, I guess, in the locker room? Can you feel it yet?
No, not yet. We don't want to feel it yet. You know what I'm saying? You get ready to go and we'll handle that at the right time.
But what's it say about Cam? I think it was the pass over the middle, the slant over the middle that he caught.
Yeah, low angle route.
He took it on Derwin head on.
Well, he does all the time. Did every day in practice.
And he bounced off. Now Derwin got him on the ground, but I assume that's good to see from your freshman running back.
Them goal line scrimmages we had, them guys, the backers, Derwin, the backers, the D linemen. All the guys had shots on him, man. He'll put his nose on you now. He'll put his nose on you. He's a football player.
The ball, when they stripped him, is that him?
I can't. I have to see it. Again, anytime you strip it, I don't know if he got it down or they got in there. I couldn't, back up where I could see. And it was a shame because he had a big run. And I think that's when he tried to jump out. So probably should have stuck it a little more vertical and just taken the guy on. But I'll look. I couldn't see it at the time. But again, anytime you put it on the ground, that's bad. And that's the other thing. We had the turnover, which I don't know what that route was, but what he was running or what he was doing. But for the most part, the other thing I was very happy on, taking care of the football for the day. I mean, that was the only turnover on the day was the, if I'm not mistaken, on that right, was the interception right there. And I was forcing them to go 2 minutes. I just wanted both sides to work on it and do what they had to do. But he stopped on the route. DeAndre tried to go ahead and make it work, but it wasn't. I mean, it should just, get rid of it. But I don't know what he was running. But that was the other thing on the day, taking care of the football. And the defense was hitting well and making plays on the ball. It wasn't like, they were, sometimes you don't turn it over when there's big plays, the guys aren't covering you tight and things like that. But they were doing that, and we still took care of the football. And that's and I'll tell you what, you take care of the football, punt like that, play defense like that, you're going to score points on field position and things of that nature. And then hopefully our return game will kick in.
Coming out of the spring, how do you feel about the backs, after losing Dalvin? How do you feel about that?
I feel good. I mean, I make up a job. We know Josh Pledger started 3 games here. Every game he's had over 100, maybe 150. Is that right on all 3 starts? A couple of them are 200 in yardage and caught the ball. So he can win a game and play, and has done a tremendous job as a starter in that role. The young guy Ryan Green's come on good. Again, I keep saying Amir Rasul is a really good player. Vickers, our most improved guy, was as a fullback, tailback. You know what I mean? He's doing good. Neighbors, and then Cam coming on like that. So you feel very good in numbers because guys get nicked and knocked, at that position, but. For the most part, I feel very good and confident in that group coming in.
It seemed like this game gave guys kind of like Devontae and some of those other guys who may have been injured in previous years a chance to play kind of like Purifoy as well. What was your thoughts on how some of those guys did?
I have to wait and look at the film. Devontae had a couple of things. Again, I thought Nooney made some really nice catches. We didn't try to go to him a lot early in the game. Maybe we should have done that more. Whoever's calling the plays had screwed up, you know what I mean? I wasn't calling him, see? No, I didn't call any of them. I didn't call any of them, so you can blame it on somebody else now.
Odell?
No. But I mean, he made one catch over on that side you saw that was phenomenal. But again, staying consistent and making plays like that's one thing, but being a number one and really doing it, which he's starting to emerge into, and the things he can do, and getting Keith. We tried to get Keith in a day, he teaked it, and they could have fixed it. He could have played guys and get him out of here. We'll let him heal up, and that's a shame because he was having a good time, and then Auden. But those guys, it was good to see him in there. And the young time, Maven caught a ball. McKitty, you saw McKitty catch a ball. I mean, he's going to be a good player. Always is.
What did you see out of Rudy all camp?
Excuse me?
What did you see out of Rudy all camp?
Solid, but a couple days not as consistent as I would like, and I'm being picky at it, but at the same time with the expectations, because I mean, when you become a one and you become a guy to hang your hat on, there is no days off or plays off or anything like that. I'm not saying he had, but I'm saying there's a level, but you got to grow into that too. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, I mean, who thought KB would have come in and been? I mean, even though 80 was the number one, KB, we had a couple ones. 80, he was a one like that too, and he had to grow into that and understand that responsibility and what you're doing with him. And I've been Nooney Nooney's going to be one of the big keys for us to having the kind of year we need to have, because that guy can really, really play the game and change the game.
Glad to see Ricky bounce back and hit a 50-yarder.
Yeah, it was. That's what I said. I mean, he missed that 44-yarder, and then but come back and hit a 52-yarder. It's kind of into the wind, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't that into the wind that way? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. That way, I think the wind was blowing. It felt like it on the field anyway. I don't know. And he hit that ball really good. Hit a nice kickoff and everything else. That was really good to see him rebound like that.
Coach, without seeing returns in the return game, what do you look for special teams wise in the spring scrimmage?
Well, in the spring scrimmage, I'm not worried about. In scrimmages, we did it in practice every day, how we were covering and kicking and doing all those things. And you don't want to do them on the day. There's too big a chance of collisions and injuries. But as far as the kicking and things, we did. But we did a lot of work on our return game in the spring, and the covering and kicking game. As obviously the punting game really paid off. I thought again, Logan has really improved and reaching his potential.
Are you seeing strides being made in terms of special teams just from last year compared to this year?
Seems to be. We'll wait and see again until they're live. You have to wait and see. But I've been pleased with our work.
Jimbo, DeAndre really picked it up in the second quarter there, and you got him some throws at the end there. Would you like him to see a little bit more consistency from him?
At times, but again, what's around him, man? You got to remember right now, you ain't running with your normal guys out there running routes, and even a couple, like I said, even though I don't know what that route was. I mean, I know what the route was, but I ain't never seen it ran like that. And that's knowing again. And Devontae had a good day. There's nothing against that, but until you get that continuity out there. He had a throw. I think the first throw of the game he could have made was a hair off. There was one to Devontae later. I think he could have got, but he made some really nice throws on third down in the middle of the field. And that's where he's good at. You go back to him on third down, you go back to him on third and long, you go back to him on red zone. And that's where the money downs are. He's excellent. And as we get our guys back around there, you'll see that. see that pick up.
I think you saw DeAndre kind of going up to Devontae, slapping on the helmet, things like that. How much did you like that leadership from him?
I did, because you got to get into where you want and what you're seeing and how to do it, and that's what you got to run it just like he wants. You know what I'm saying, and how you're supposed to get it. And that's part of growing as a team.
How would you assess Bavian, not only just today, but what you've seen from him?
Okay, and was playing all spring on a bad ankle. Like I told you, he had a trampoline deal where he thought he was, I guess, Jack Lane or somebody. And, had a high ankle sprain that he nursed all the way in and started spring practice with. And you're in there, and if you're talking about a receiver running on ankle, you're talking about a lineman having to brace some power and do that in there, but has a really good future. He and Miss Sally, all those guys, I think, can be really good. It's a shame they both got nicked up, but he played kind of hurt all spring and was playing today. That ankle's still in there. Hopefully next 3 to 4 weeks it'll heal up all the way. But he's got a chance, and he's a good guy, and he understands it, and got a good body for in there.
What do you think the offseason will be like, whether it be for Vaselli, Johnson, and Everly, knowing that there's 3 viable options right there, and knowing that
That's about it. There's viable options everywhere. I mean, at tackle, at guard, you got to remember today, you didn't have Ricky Leonard, you didn't have Everly, you didn't have Dickerson in there too. I mean, you had three of your starting guys that have played pretty good that weren't even in the lineup today. So those other guys will keep grinding, and those other guys will keep pushing them.
Another offensive lineman, Wilson Bell, transferring. What kind of players all been getting?
Really good guy, great guy, good player, very conscientious, good person. I mean, you love Wilson. I love Wilson. He was in there today. He was talking to him in the locker room today.
Jimbo, on the leadership, you said you wanted this whole spring kind of somebody to step up and
Yeah, I saw it today. I mean, like he thought about it. You saw 12 going to him. You saw 3 communicating. You saw the linebackers. You saw some of the front guys starting to communicate. It really started picking up. But again, saying you lead, I should be. Man, leading's hard. Leading's hard. It doesn't come natural to people. I mean, you guys are around groups of people. How many? I mean, I don't care if there's 10 of you. He's probably one leader of the group. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there isn't a lot. And guys have that, and then accepting that role plus the responsibility of doing my job, and do I want that job, and then once I get it, the player's going to accept me. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot to all that, and it's got to be formed over time. And I think I was very pleased the second half of spring how we started evolving into those roles.
Jimbo, so you guys said you guys had like 100 more players now?
Yeah, there was a ton of them here today.
Sometimes not easy to get to. What does it say when all those guys keep?
Well, I mean, I think what I want them to understand first is this is always home to them. I mean, I don't care how long you played here. You created this culture. You created Florida State, and I think it also that how much they like like they are very encouraged about how we're doing in the program. Where the program is, we're back on top. We're playing in the major bowl games like they did. We're finishing in the top 10. We're playing for national championships. It's like all those guys did, and they're very proud of it. And it's great for them to be around. I like our players seeing those guys, who the history is, and what goes on, and the legacy it's been. Those guys left here that you got to carry on. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's just sings volumes to what we're doing and how well we're connected as a family.
What did you see from your offensive line on both teams today that you liked, that you didn't like?
I thought we ran the ball very well, and I thought for the most part, I mean, there were some long passing yardage situations at times that I thought they, for the most part, got balls out. And like I said, a lot of the sacks I saw came from guys not quite being able to get off press or getting the routes quick enough. But I thought the offensive line had a pretty solid day on the day. Now, again, I watched the film to make sure. Again, to go with your back. That's why I like standing back there. But it wasn't like jailbreaks, and it wasn't. Well, the other thing if a guy already got beat, guys are banged up. Some of the guys on defense are pretty good though. They can rush, and wasn't a lot of. I was in bad position. I just, guy beat me physically, or he had a good technique. There wasn't a lot of blowing assignments. Communication was good for the most part. You know what I mean? A lot of those things you look for, and I was proud of that.
Couple more.
Especially when you have a lot of guys that don't play together all the time. You know what I'm saying? That they're usually on different units. You get mixed up in this game.
We didn't get a chance to hear, but some people were saying over social that it seemed like the conversation between you and Rex Ryan was kind of interesting. A, what was that like, and B, what's kind of the...
I love Rex. He's a great guy, one of the great coaches and defensive minds in football, was a great head coach and all that. We were reminiscing. There was a story, but we had coached against each other one time, and back in 1991 when I was a young coordinator and everything, and then just talking in general all the way across. And I love talking ball, and you can tell he grew up around ball. I mean, he's a football junkie, and it was fun and very entertaining and very knowledgeable. I had a good talk with him yesterday. It was fun.
So who won?
Huh?
You said your two teams played against each other.
We did, and we had a really good team. We kind of sabotaged them. We changed a lot of offensive stuff, and then we had a really good team. We went to the national semifinals that year. That was in 1991, and they had played Moorhead went to Moorhead State, who had really not been a good program. In the last 6 games, man, they played defense lights out. They were playing that Buddy Ryan 46 defense, Barrett, double exchange and all that stuff. And we changed a lot of things on offense. We had known they played the last 6 games. I mean, they beat #1 Eastern Kentucky, who was #1 in the country. I mean, they beat some great teams. So we played a Division II team to open up with, and we did our old stuff. and then broke all the new stuff out against them, and we jumped on them and beat them pretty good. That's what he said. He said he was going to quit coaching. Didn't know if he'd get another job that day. We got on them pretty good, scored a bunch of points, but like I say, we kind of shanghaied them a little bit. They didn't know some of the stuff that was coming. You know, that's what I say about off season. When you talk about opening games, opening 2 games, that's the thing, man. There's so many things that can go on that, you know, the opening games that you don't have to deal with on a weekly basis once the season gets going, because those things can go either way. That's why we say as coaches we hate them. It's not that we hate playing the opponent, it's we hate the unknown. And when you get, you know, people 6 months, 8 months, whatever it may be, all that kind of stuff, and we were able to have a successful day that day. But he was a great guy. I mean, I'm gonna tell you what, we were actually scared. That's why we changed everything and did a lot of stuff. They were really good. Made us good.
But just leaving the spring,
Excuse me?
it seems like you feel good about the spring.
I do feel good about this spring. I mean, I know it's gonna be, I wanted it to be tough, I wanted it to be physical, I wanted it to be demanding, because, man, it's hard to, in fall practice you can do it some, but man, it's hard to be physical all the time with the injuries and things that go on. But there's a time in football that, man, you want guys to practice, but somehow you gotta line up and butt somebody in the mouth. You gotta learn to take on blocks, you gotta learn to play banged up, you gotta learn to play injured. That's what made, you know what's funny, last night as I was talking about it, all the ex-players up there last night. And I remember Eric Cage was standing there, and Odell, and we had, I can't remember who all was there. A bunch of defensive guys, and Mickey was standing there, and they were talking about all the Mickey. I didn't do that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did kick me in the tail. Or you did. And talking about how hard practice was, and how demanding, and how physical that their practices were. Guys got hurt and banged up, and talking about laughing about Coach Bowden starting practice over an hour into it. And they stopped, which we did that this year, and we had to cut practice. See, back in them days, they'd go do the whole thing. We got that 4-hour rule. We started over, then we have to cut other things out. So we did that this year. I mean, it doesn't work that way. But it was funny. All the stories the guys told were very few game stories. It was all about the locker room. It was all about the dorm. It was all about practice. You know what I'm saying? And that camaraderie and that stuff. But how tough it was. One day, how many gassers they were? 30-some gassers. And guys would be laying there, and they told a story about Mickey, and one of them said, I can't remember, said, the trainer said, he's cramped up, he can't run. Well, can he walk? Make him walk. You know what I mean? And Mickey was the most, I mean, they guys respect him to death, and one of the best guys I've ever been on the field. But on the field, that guy was, I mean, he was stone cold. It was one way. And you don't have, it's hard in today's time to get that across to kids because of the rules, stipulations, what goes on, the time limits, the hour rules. And it's hard. You got to build toughness mentally, and you got mentally. We'll say physically, you got to build it from the hitting and the practice. But then that builds the mental toughness to be able to fight through it in those times. And you got to find those things. And that's what I try to get. I was hell this spring. I was never happy. I was pushing, because if you don't now though, you can't do it. I mean, you're going to do it in the fall, but you got to get across what you're trying to sell right now, because this game is, the parity of it's too great, and who can mentally and physically handle the mental strains and toughness is the guys that are going to persevere and come away on top. I mean, and it was just fun listening to all those guys. I guess I walk out the field days, some days, and feel bad about practice. I mean, as far as how hard I got on them, or how hard I challenged them, or how hard I pushed them. I didn't feel bad after the stories they told last night. I felt good. We're on offense and defense, but it's funny how that's what the players remember. It isn't the game. I mean, they talked about a couple things, how they did it, it related to a game, and they won a game. But that's what I keep trying to tell everybody. It's not the games and the winning. It's all the camaraderie and that practice and what you go through. And back to those reunions, I always tell our guys all the time, when you walk up 20 years from now to your reunion, as you're walking up and there's 4 players standing there, all together, and here they see you coming. And it's a comment. We all do this to people. Here comes Joe. Man, he was a goofball, or man, that was one tough son of a gun, or that. I said, when you walk up, what are they going to say about you? I said, when you get the respect of that, that's what this is all about. It ain't about winning the game. It ain't about being an All-American. It ain't about playing in the NFL. What are your teammates going to say about you? And you learn that out there on the practice field. And then I thought we had a good, and getting on that, I thought from that standpoint, we grew in that area. From the leadership part, I saw grow, the physicality, which I saw the good. I was happy today. Derwin made that big hit back there on that that seam route. Was perfect throw. Guy should have caught it, had it caught, and he made the hit. He made a big hit. You know what? Didn't get a target. He hit in the strike zone, doing it the right way, doing the right thing. I thought we made a lot of strides in a lot of areas that way. And again, we're far from a finished product. We got a lot of things to do, but there's a lot to work with there, and the attitude is coming in the right direction. So I really am. I am pleased where we're at. Again, I know we got a lot of things to do, but I like the group we got.
Yep.